way outside of Los Angeles. So we're going to be looking into
Who's
this.
going to investigate that? Is that Doge who's going to investigate the train?
No, I'm doing that myself.
Some of these Doge engineers that Elon Musk has helping him are as young as 19 years
That's
old.
good. They're very smart, though, Peter. They're like you. They're very smart people.
Thank you. Have you met any of these guys?
No, I haven't seen them. They work actually out of the White House. They're smart people. Unlike what they do in the control towers, where we need smart people, we should use some of them in the control towers where we were putting people that were actually intellectually deficient. That was one of the qualifications, is you could be intellectually deficient. No, we need smart people. Some are young and some are not young. Some are not young at all, but they found great things. Look at the list of things. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'll read off a list of 15 or 20 things that they found inside of the USAID. It has to be corrupt. Nobody could approve that. They could only approve that if they were getting kickbacks.
And we went over some of the initiatives yesterday of the USAID. Some of that shit was alarming. Like, what? Like, we're giving money to what causes? It was like I think $70K to like a gay parade or gay play or something like that. I'll have to pull up the tweet. Some of the stuff was literally alarming. Like, some of the woke ideologies we're funding internationally. Most of this stuff is crazy. Taxpayers don't even know what our money is going towards. You pull up the list, most of us, even the Democrats, even liberals would probably be alarmed by that list.
You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
And it sounds like you're going to wind down USAID.
It sounds like it. I mean, I think so. Yeah.
So when that happens, which part of the government?
Well, I could see Marco Rubio being in charge, State Department, because they're giving money to. I mean, some of the money is well spent, I guess, but much of it is really fraudulent.
And on the education department, why nominate Linda McMahon to be the education department secretary if you're going to get rid of the education department?
Because I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. And we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice. But in addition to that, I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
So do you think that's something you can do with an executive order, or are you going to have Congress to do it?
I would like to be able to. Look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them. I think so. If you look at the list, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, believe it or not, China's doing very well on that list, a list of well-educated, where they run their school system well. You have a lot of countries, not surprising names. I think that if you moved our schools into some of these states that are really well-run states, they would be as good as Denmark and Norway and Sweden and some of the other states. And then you'd have the laggards, and you know who they are. I don't have to go to it, but you'd have the laggards, the same laggards that are laggards with.
And I think this is Trump hinting at him making an attempt to go after the DOE next. Y'all know he's taking on these government agencies one by one. First, it was the USAID. Now it's the Department of Education, which he already hinted at during his campaign that he was going to go after them. I mean, we got a failing literacy rate nationwide. I mean, like, what are y'all even here for? Like, let's leave it up to the states. I couldn't agree more on that. But this is no surprise. He's already hinted that he wanted to do this, but this is just the next move of Trump's campaign, apparently. DOE.
With everything else, including crime. But even then, you'll break it into systems. As an example, if you went to New York, you go to Westchester County, you go to Dutchess County, you go to Suffolk and Long Island and Nassau and Long Island. You have maybe 6 or 7 locations.
Yep. Shout out Big Wave Dave. $5. He says states should run the schools. Part of my property taxes go to the public schools that's paid to the state. Why should FedGov be in charge? Bro, especially when they're not doing their damn job. When we got a whole Department of Education and we have a failing literacy rate across America, they're failing. They're not doing their job. They are failing to do their goddamn job. I couldn't agree more with the option to leave it up to the states. but the top states be top performers, and the ones at the bottom, it'll be glaringly obvious that they're not performing as well. And then we can get in there and address those states that are falling under that standard. I think that's a much better system instead of having the DOE that really doesn't regulate shit and really isn't helping states anyway. Like they're not helping kids. I mean, to be honest, like what is the DOE making a difference? How and what areas are they making the difference in?
Then you have New York City, which would include the 5 boroughs. And I think even that would run much better than it does right now. Same thing with Los Angeles or California. You'd have Riverside, you'd break it up into 6 or 7, but most of them would be states, and you'd have one, like in Iowa, you give it to the state of Iowa, you give it to the state of Indiana, these are really well-run states. They don't have debt, they don't have problems, they don't have any crimes, relatively speaking, to speak of.
But those top states be the top performers. They'll set the example. They'll set the precedent of what it looks like to run your state's education. The states on the lower end, those states will be highlighted. We can go in and analyze what they're doing wrong and then coach them to be as good as the top performing states. I feel like that's a much better system, a much better a funnel than having the DOE, again, that doesn't really do much. Like, what the hell are they regulating?
And you would have education that would be the equivalent of Norway and Denmark and various other places that are at the top of the list. So we're at the bottom of the list and we're the most expensive. We're at the top of the list when it comes to cost per pupil. We spend more money per pupil than any other nation in the world, and yet we're rated number 40. The last ratings came out, you saw them. So they talk about 40 countries, we're rated number 40. And I say that if we did this, we would go 20, 30 notches up. We could do great. And we would have some of the best districts in the world.
But are you looking to do that with an executive order, sir, or do you need to work with Congress?
Well, there are some people that say I could. I think I'd work with Congress. I think we'd have to work with the teachers union, because the teachers union is the only one that's opposed to it. Nobody else would want to hold them back. Look, we have to tell the teachers union, we're rated last in the world in education of the top 40. We're rated, we were 38. Now we're 40. We went to 39. We went to 40. We're 37, but we're at 40 now. The thing just came out. That's under Biden. Remember that.
Secretary Rubio announced a deal this week that would allow potentially American citizens who are criminals to be put in a different country. Is that something you're looking to do?
No, I didn't know that he announced that yet, but he did. It's fine. Yeah, we have hardened criminals, horrible people. You see him pushing people into subways. The train is coming. Last week, guy walking around, just sees somebody waiting for the train. Train's coming 40 miles an hour, and he gets pushed into the subway. And that happens all the time. These are sick people.
And shout out Daniel Castro, $2. He said, unelected agencies have subjugated taxpayers. Man, for the longest. That's how they've kept the lights on. If we're being honest, that's how they've kept the lights on. And that's why they're fighting it so hard. That's why you see some of these politicians, some of these spokesmen from these unelected agencies fighting it so hard, calling out Doge, calling out Trump, because they've sat on their ass for so long and pissed away funds from taxpayers and made a standard, made a lifestyle, made a career out of it. So now that Trump and Doge is coming in and Trump and Elon are coming in and shaking things up, yeah, it's pissing some folks off. Some of the old guard, we'll call it. It's pissing the old guard off. They don't like it.
If we could get them out of our country, we have other countries that would take them. It's no different than a prison system, except it would be a lot less expensive, and it would be a great deterrent. Send them to other countries. If we could go a step further, in other words, we're talking about getting the criminals out of our country that come in through other countries illegally, right? The illegal migrants, as I call them. Well, we have people that are just as bad as them in our country. If we could get them out, I'd be very happy.
El Salvador said that he wanted you to pay a fee for that. Would you pay that?
Well, it's a very small fee compared to what we pay to private prisons. And a very, very small fee. I don't know. We'll have to find that out legally. I'm just saying, if we had the legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if we do or not. We're looking at that right now. But we could make deals where we'd get these animals out of our country. And if you take the shooters, the people that hit old ladies in the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that walk down the street, the people that you see it, the people that take out a gun and shoot you for no reason at all. If we could get these animals out of our country and put them in a different country under the supervision of somebody that made a relatively small fee to maintain these people, because you know what? These are criminals. You call them hardened criminals. They've been in jail 40 times. There's one 42 times. And every time the person gets out, it's a he. Every time he gets out, he commits another crime within 24 hours. And it's a heinous crime. It's a rough crime.
Damn.
We don't want these people in our country either. We don't want them in our
It's
country.
certainly-
If we had the option,
That's beyond a repeat offender. It's like a habitual offender. Like you can't help but do crime. Like you on the streets and you can't help but commit crime. Like imagine that. Imagine that. Got folks out here just can't control themselves. Can't keep them hands to themselves. Literally. Out here just hurting folks.
option to get them out and let them be based in some other country at a fraction of the cost. And frankly, they could keep them because these people are never going to be any good. That person that has been arrested 42 times or 22 times or 17 times and is all in for manslaughter and everything else and only gets out because of a very weak judicial system that only goes after people like Trump. They don't go after the criminals. They don't go after people like this. And they laugh at our law. If that took place, you would have a lot less crime automatically.
So, sir, you're exploring whether to allow this?
On Guantanamo Bay, is there
Yeah.
enough space there to accommodate?
There's a lot of space to accommodate a lot of people, yeah, so we're going to use it.
Can you talk a little bit?
We have it,
about
it's
why?
already up. We have it for nothing. But we can do less expensive and even more secure. We've had other countries come to us saying, we would love to do that. We would love to take your criminals and we'll maintain that. We'll be their jail. And I'm only talking for the most severe cases. Like I watched that guy on tape pushing the man into the subway last week. That man that did that is a real bad guy. Many arrests.
Real bad guy. No, he's he's not lying. And beyond that, anybody that has crossed over illegally, and I mean that's egregious because he was caught on tape doing that. But anybody who's crossed over illegally and is purporting harm or damaging people's property, or again hurting or even potentially killing people, that's what this is all about. Getting the most dangerous offenders out first, right? Getting the people who are literally causing a national security risk to the rest of us, getting those people on the first bus and plane out of here. Like if you got a problem with that, if you're sticking up for those people, then I don't know what to tell you. Like these people should have been gone last week, and you over here sticking up for them because they here under temporary migrant status and they're protected and they should be here. And I don't care. I'm not trying to hear any of that. I'm not trying to hear any of that. And it's all fun and games until it's you or your family.
And do you think you're going to convince him someday to be good and a wonderful citizen for our country? It's never going to happen. I want to get those people out. I'd love to get them out along with the illegal migrants. The migrants are rough, but we have some bad ones too. I'd like to get them out. It would be all subject to the laws of our land, and we're looking at that to see if we can do it.
What
Mr.
other
President?
countries have offered to take American citizens?
Say it.
What other countries have offered to take these American citizens?
Numerous, many.
Could you-
And Marco brought it up today. I'm glad he did. Because a lot of people are thinking it. When I watch some of the crimes being committed in New York City and Chicago, look at Chicago, the volume of crime that they have and the viciousness of the crime. These people are horrible people. And if somebody thinks they're going to be wonderful citizens someday, they're wrong. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're bad. These are hard, tough criminals. In many cases, they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. But they're very dangerous. If I could get them out of the country and be in some other country where they're glad to have them because they make a small fee compared to what we pay to a private prison or to, put them in one of our prisons that costs even more money, I think it would be great. I'd love to get them the hell out of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Guys, let's go.
We're gonna win the Super Bowl.
All right.
I don't want to say, but there's a certain quarterback that seems to be a pretty good winner.
And just last one, because you mentioned it many times.
I'm weak.
What do you think about Joe Biden signing on with a talent agency?
You got to be kidding.
He says,
He signed
He
on
said
with a talent
what?
agency.
He does. He's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well.
a talent agency?
Bruh.
A talent agency? Chat, look at me. A talent agency, man. Joe Biden, you're supposed to be somewhere on a beach. You waited your whole presidency, all 4 years, to retire and join a talent agency? Bro, wrap it up. What talent do you have? Lying to the American people? It's over, Joe. It's over. Sit down somewhere, bro. Nobody wants to see you in Broadway musical. Nobody wants to hear a podcast of Joe Biden. You was incoherent during your presidency. Nobody wants to listen to you talk for an hour.
Bruh.
What the hell?
We inherited a mess. This place is a mess,
Talent agency. Let
but
me
it's
find
quickly
out.
being solved, the problem. We're going to make America great again. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
You
Let's
guys.
go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, go, guys.
You guys like the video? Up next, he's got some executive orders. But double tap that screen for your boy. We got almost 200 of y'all in here. We appreciate the support, man. It is going to be a fire stream. Like I tell you. Not too late. Show some support. Double tap that screen for your boy. Let's keep it going.
Thank you all. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to close that curtain? Let's pull that curtain a little bit. It was sunny. Hi, Peter. Okay. Thank you very much. We had a busy day. We're dealing with lots of different people and lots of different things. We had some terrific people in today and trying to solve some of the problems that are going on in the country and outside of the country. We're doing very well with respect to other countries really behaving on taking the criminals that they sent into our country, and we're getting them out. These are some of the worst people on earth, and they're getting out and they're being accepted back in their countries, as you've heard, without exception. So a lot of people thought that was not going to happen, but it's happening very full force. Now we're getting some very, very dangerous people out of our country, which is very important.
That was hilarious. A lot of people was asking, oh, where's he going to send them? They're not going to take them back from their country. And I'm just like, bro, who else is going to take them? They're going to go back to where they came from. Return to sender. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Will, perhaps we'll go through the first one, please.
Yes, sir. So earlier today, before the press came in, you signed a commission appointing Chris Wright to be your next Secretary of Energy. We have another commission prepared for your signature, sir. This is Doug Collins to be Secretary of the VA, Doug Collins of Georgia.
Two very good men. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And I caught it on stream yesterday. I swear, I promise Trump is going for a record. He's trying to break his record from 2016. In 2016, he signed more executive orders than Biden did from 2020 to 2024. And I think it just seems, I'm just getting the idea that Trump is trying to break his record from 2016. I think he had 200 plus executive orders. He's trying to break that record. I see it now.
Next up, in light of numerous actions taken by a number of bodies of the United Nations, which exhibit a deep anti-American bias.
It's like the pen is on fire in that man's hand. He's like literally writing flames.
We have an executive order prepared for your attention. that would withdraw the United States from the UN Human Rights Council, would withdraw the United States from the UNRWA, which is a refugee organization, and would also review American involvement in UNESCO, which has also exhibited anti-American bias. More generally, the executive order calls for a review of American involvement and funding in the UN in light of the wild disparities in levels of funding among different countries that, as you've expressed previously, is deeply unfair to the United States.
So I've always felt that the UN has tremendous potential. It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't, hasn't for a long time. It has, there are great hopes for it, but it's not being well run, to be honest, and they're not doing the job. A lot of these conflicts that we're working on should be settled, or at least we should have some help in settling them. We never seem to get help. That should be the primary purpose of the UN, the United Nations. And again, it's got great potential, and based on the potential, we'll continue to go along with it, but they got to get their act together.
What would they need to do to get their act together?
Well, they got to be fair to countries that deserve fairness. They have some countries.
And I'll just be honest, Trump has definitely not signed the most in history. They're popularizing it because Trump, he loves a camera in front of him. Anytime he gets a chance to host a speaking engagement, Trump is going to be the one to do it. So, yeah, we're just seeing him on camera signing these orders. He's definitely by far not the most in history.
As you know, that are outliers, that are very bad, and they're being almost preferred as countries to those that do their job and are doing a good job. And they have to really, they're going to end up losing a lot of countries. They're going to end up losing their credibility like other organizations, and then they're going to be nothing. The potential of the United Nations, and not everybody agrees with me on this, the potential of the United Nations is fantastic if properly run. So we'll see what happens.
How much money are you willing to take away from that?
Well, we're taking away a little bit, but we're not looking to take away money. This is so important that we're really, as you know, the United Nations is largely funded by us. But, and it shouldn't be, it should be funded by everybody, but we're disproportionate, as we always seem to be. But it's something that if it ever lived up to the potential, in 10 minutes it would make up the difference. That's the kind of power it could have. Right now, it doesn't have that power.
Next, sir, this is a national security presidential memorandum that seeks to impose maximum pressure on the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Many of these provisions are similar to actions that your administration took during your first administration. The basic idea here is to have every department and agency, or many departments and agencies in your government attempt to sanction and control Iranian activities, particularly relating to the Iranian nuclear program and the Iranian export.
And shout out Don's $2. He said Trump's wrist must hurt from signing nonstop. I was being funny. I don't know if you heard me, Don's, but I swear the pen is on fire in this man's hand. He's just signing away. He's going crazy, but it's definitely, I think it's just the fact that we're seeing it. It's just being popularized, and he loves it. He loves a chance to do anything on camera. We have a president that loves the camera, so I definitely know he's not the most. He hasn't had the most executive orders in history, but I do think he's trying to break his record from 2016.
Of terrorism through support of various proxy groups abroad. And the intent here is to give you all of the possible tools to, I'd say, engage with the Iranian government to ensure that going forward, they are less of a malign actor on the world stage.
So this is one that I'm torn about. Everybody wants me to sign it. I'll do that. It's very tough on Iran. It's what we had before. We would have never had the problem. You would have never had October 7th. We would have never had the problem had the election gone the different way, which it should have. But this one, I think, more than made up for it. I think we're doing things, and it shows it.
And shout out Big Wave Dave, $5. He said he's just glad that he's working to try and fix the nonsense that went on the last 4 years. And yeah, sometimes you can't wait to go through the process of checks and balances and getting this passed through Congress and this, that, and the other. Even though we do have a Republican House and Senate, I get that. But sometimes you do need to come in, and some of the easier things to fix and remedy can be solved through executive orders. And that's what you see Trump doing. A lot of this stuff is somewhat simple in regards to the magnitude of his presidency, but the reason why he does it with an executive order is because it's just like bada boom, bada bing, ain't got to worry about it. And it sets the tone. It sets the tone and it sets a precedent of the type of leader he's going to be. And shout out Don's just sending in $1. Ain't got too much to say. He just wanted to show some support.
More than made up for it, much more historic. The Iran situation, hopefully, I'm going to sign it, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it very much. We will see whether or not we can arrange or work out a deal with Iran and everybody can live together, and maybe that's possible and maybe it's not possible.
Two-party solution is optimal in regards to the Hamas, or let me not even say Hamas, Palestine and Israel. Two-party solution is optimal, but you guys have to understand there's a very historic, contextualized, religious-based beef drama between the two parties. So it's easier said than done. But the ceasefire is, I would say, a good move in the right direction. I think that obviously renegotiation needs to be held at some point in time, hopefully with Benjamin Netanyahu or whoever Israel places in his position as their next leader. Hopefully Trump can also be a part of that process. America is sure to be a part of that process now and in the future, but I do think that it's a very sticky situation, We've covered it multiple times here on the stream. It's definitely something we'll continue to cover. Maybe we'll do a special episode on in the future as well, but just a very complex situation in regards to Palestine and Israel's relationship.
So I'm signing this and I'm unhappy to do it, but I really have not so much choice because we have to be strong and firm, and I hope that it's not going to have to be used in any great measure at all. It'd be great if we could have a Middle East and maybe a world at total peace. Right now, you don't have that. When I left, you had peace all over the world, and now you have the world is blowing up. As you know, Bibi is coming in to see me later. Others are coming in to see me. We'll see what we can do. But I'm signing this, and hopefully it will be a document which won't be very important, will hardly have to be used.
So what kind of deal would you be prepared to?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, you guys are based on conversations with your counterpart in Iran?
I would.
If you want to block the sale of Iranian oil to other nations.
Well, we have the right to do that, and that's what I did before, and they had no money. They wouldn't have had the money for Hamas or Hezbollah and anybody else. It could have been solved, this thing. It's just, if things went the way they should have, this would have been over long ago, but it's not over.
How close do you think Iran is to developing a nuclear weapon?
I think they're close. Too close. But again, you could go back 4 years. I would have said they would have had it during this intervening period. But they're pretty close, Peter.
And why?
Due to policy, Iran was almost crippled, and I would not say crippled, very much stifled by Trump. Through policy and certain political gesturing, they were stifled by Trump, which left them somewhat destitute in regards to nuclear research and economics. So now Iran, over the last 4 years, has came in a very prominent position, which is why you see them with their hands in certain proxies geopolitically. Houthis, so on and so forth. Iran, if not directly involved, is financially involved in a lot of these proxies.
I say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who threaten to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out so long.
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence perhaps, but he never said it. If that happens to a leader or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it.
Mr. President, if the Prime Minister today were to ask your help in striking at Iran's nuclear facilities to prevent the kind of progress towards a nuclear weapon, would you give him the green light? Would either to do it himself or for the U.S. to participate with him?
I don't know that that's what he's going to be asking for. I have no idea that it is. You're telling me. We're going to have a pretty long meeting. We're going to be discussing a lot of things, not only that, but a lot of things. And I'll let you know if the time comes to let you know. But right now, that's not something that I can discuss.
Mr. President, when you said if they do it, they get obliterated. Just to be clear, you're talking about if Iran made an attempt on your life.
Yeah, that would be called total obliteration. And I can't imagine they do that. It should have been stated by Biden, but he didn't state it because he had no clue, as you know, as everybody knows.
What is your vision actually for relationship
Do you have
with
anything
Iran?
else?
No, that's all we have.
My vision for
Your
what?
relationship with Iran, and would you?
I'd love to have a good relationship with everybody. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing that was very important. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Beyond that, it would be very tough if they insist on doing that. They have some of their leadership, I can tell you right now, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but there are many people at the top ranks of Iran that do not want to have a nuclear weapon just for that very reason.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to China's retaliatory?
It definitely puts a certain target on your back if you're Iran and everybody is around you looking at you, seeing what you're going to do in regards to nuclear research, nuclear development, and finally getting a nuclear weapon. And you're literally Iran just sitting there like, well, we kind of need one. But at that same time, Trump is saying shit like this. So